DJI has just released the goggles Integra. So here we are, we have the goggles Integra, and I'll just quickly go through the differences that I see to the goggles 2. And yeah, so those are the updates that they've been making on the goggles and releasing it as a standalone device. So you don't have to buy it as a pack with the Avata, but you can buy it on its own. So we'll get to that later. So here we can see the difference here. It does have no focus adjustment for your eyes, but it does have the IPD adjustment, so it allows you to change the distance of the lenses to suit your distance of your eyes. So that's one change that you can see here. It also has a battery pack, so this is confirmed that it is a battery pack on the back here, and it has a control on the back to actually adjust the tightness of it as well. So that's quite nice. It does have the micro OLED screens, and yeah, the rest of it seems to be about the same in terms of the O3 system and the resolution of it. So it's still 1080p, and with the, yeah, I guess the frame rates and everything that you still get the 100 FPS since the OLED screens can only support up to 100. So we keep on going down here. It has some demo usage of it as well. So there's the battery strap. Very quick flashes of it, but you'll get to see a few of that soon. So a bit of text there, but here's some more information about the differences on the side of the touchpad. So there is no touchpad, it's now just a power indicator, and the controls are above here. It doesn't have any images of it here yet, I don't think I've seen it, but it does have buttons on top here, and I believe it will be similar to the Goggles V2, and it's physical buttons, not a touchpad. Down here you see a power button. So since it doesn't have an external battery and it's integrated into the goggles, it has a power button so you can turn on and off the goggles. Still has a USB Type-C here, and there is no SD card slot on the other side as well. So I'd have seen it already. It does have an SD card slot, and you'll see it in the next image. So down here you see the SD card slot is now in place of the, I think it's a distance sensor of how the goggles go onto your face. So it has a SD card slot between the eyepieces here. I'm not sure how it will do the distance sensor or sensing whether or not you have the goggles on, so it turns off the screens to conserve battery, but it does have it here. I haven't seen any details about that auto turn off feature. So it also comes with a pack of, I think it's 11 different lenses to correct the eyes of your glasses if you do wear glasses. So it does have that come in the pack, and I believe you just clip them on. I don't know yet, I haven't seen any demonstrations of it, but that I can only assume that that's how you would use them. The only other difference I can see in this image is that the antennas now have this little stub, a little rubber piece, and I think that's just to protect the hinge here of the antenna from breaking and overuse when it's packed away, because on the goggles too, when you flip these down, they kind of just hover in mid-air and tap against the body of the goggles, and it causes stress on the end of the antenna here. I haven't seen it cause so much stress that it would break it, but I think they've just put another piece of rubber there just as a precautionary to prevent long-term use damage. Okay, so just keep going down. On this image here, you can see a little bit closer that there is a power cord, and I think it's a cord, not a ribbon, that passes through the strap here from the back of where the battery is behind the head to the goggles. So that there, I think, is a cord and not a ribbon, and I think it should be durable enough for long-term use. Keep on going down. DJI Fly app, so you can let others see what you're seeing from a phone externally. And coming down here is the price. So it's $869 Australian, and yeah, so you can buy them alone without buying it in a pack, which is nice. So you don't have to fork out getting a drone just to get the goggles, which is what I did, but at least you can get the Integra now on its own. Okay, so we're jumping over to the specs now, and you'll see that it has a few of the details here. I won't go through them all, I'll let you read them. I'll go through these. I'll scroll down slowly, and if anything stands out, then I'll point it out. So it still has the 1080 resolution at 100 Hz maximum. and it does support the SD card, as we saw the SD card inside the goggles between the eyepieces. And down here, the video transmission is, I believe, all the same details as the O3 on the goggles too. The battery, I guess the only difference with the battery that might be, since it's now integrated, is the capacity is 2450 milliamp hour. Okay, jumping over to the FAQ now, and what's interesting is that they put in here the details of the differences between the goggles 2 and also the goggles Integra. So here it's talking about they're similar in size, the video transmission performance, and also their screen display. Compared to the goggles 2, it adds an integrated battery in the headband, as you saw, making it more convenient. The touch panel is replaced, which is what I mentioned with the physical buttons. And here is a list of the things that it has removed. So it's nice that they actually point out that there's things that have been taken out. The diopter adjustment function, so that's the focus adjustment that's integrated into the goggles 2, is no longer there, and you have to put in your lenses of your required degrees into the goggles. Wireless streaming function has been removed. Dot matrix display, speaker, and also the 3.5mm audio port as well has been taken out. So down in the upgrade section here, it supports a head tracking function still, and it still uses the O3 system, and that's about it. The rest is just comfort. Alright, so there's more FAQs down here, but I think that one was the one that was quite interesting to me. So you can go to the website. I'll put the link of this page down in the description. Hopefully that it's still there. And this is not a leak that they accidentally put up, and you can go through this yourself, so hopefully that it's out for the rest of the world as well. So there you go, there's quite a few FAQs. Okay, now over to the DJI RC Motion 2. So the RC Motion 2 looks very similar to the old one, but there's quite a few significant changes actually. So the big button that's on top here that used to be the brake is now a control, and I've looked at some of the videos, and it allows you to strafe while flying forward, and also you can, I guess, while stationary, you can strafe left and right. So that's one use of it. I'm not sure what pointing forward and pointing back means yet, until I guess I'll try it, or at least some other demonstrations come out. But also you see that the controller here with the trigger is now a trigger that you can push forward. So some of the remote controllers that you get for RC cars have the same feature, where driving forward is to pull the trigger, and driving backwards is, and braking is pushing the trigger forward, kind of like pointing it with your index finger outwards to push this lever forward. So you see a few of the demonstrations in the video later. So here you go, there's someone using it, and I'm not sure if he's going to do that trigger thing. I don't think so, that's just a demonstration flight. And down here, more close-up images. They've also added this dial here as well, which is quite interesting. We'll get to that down the bottom of the page soon. Okay, so here is where it shows you that it does these motions on the controller. And here is where it does the strafing while in flight. So you can see here, well, at the moment it's doing the strafing while looking down and landing. I'm not sure how that works, but let's replay that again. So that's strafing while flying forward, so you can orbit objects, which is quite nice. Here is where I think it demonstrates the trigger. So there it goes, it stops, and that's and reverse. So you can actually reverse by pointing the finger forward. So you can see that again. There you go. And it flies back. And here's a dial, which is quite nice. Nice to see this is that they put the dial here to change the settings for ISO, shutter, and other camera parameters as well. So this is quite nice. This is something that you get in cameras, the cameras that you buy, point and shoots and SLRs, where you have a dial that actually lets you change those settings. It's nice to see that they've integrated into the controller, so you can do that in flight. So during the current controller that you use, that we have at the moment, you can't do that. You have to kind of change it within the goggles, but now you can do this while, I think, in flight, I guess you can't really be flying forward and changing the settings, but I guess if you're stationary, you can then kind of use the controller without using the goggles, which makes it a bit easier since your hands are already on the remote controller. Okay, so a bit of the specs on the remote controller. Not that interesting to me, I don't think. Anyhow, and it also has a bit of a FAQ here as well, FAQ. So you can have a look at that. I think most of the stuff that I've mentioned is already in here, so you can have a read of that. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention and why I've been notified of this release is the fact that I got an email from DJI. So here is the email from DJI, and I am not affiliated or I don't have any relationship with DJI, but since I have subscribed or activated my Avata ProView combo, they've sent me this email to give me a coupon. So it's quite nice of them to actually do that. The coupon is of 110 Australian dollars, which supplements the price of the RC Motion 2. The RC Motion 2 is, I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but it's down the bottom of the page, so I'll show you it here. The RC Motion 2 is $279, so it's quite steep in my opinion, but they've given $110 for those that already have the old motion controller. And if I could probably sell the motion controller for $50 Australian, or maybe hopefully $100 Australian, then I'm not too much out of pocket. At least I can recoup some of that cost and yeah, upgrade to get this one and have a much better experience with more flexibility of flight. So it's quite nice. I might try and do that if I could sell it. Then if I can sell the old one, I'll get the new one, but I don't think I'll be spending that extra $169 Australian to get this controller. I'll probably just use my controller V2 to fly with a bit more flexibility, especially in acro mode. So at least, yeah, that's a few options that I have. But it's nice for them to send out the email, and I think this is what would prompt a lot of people to actually know that this has been released. So there you go. This is just an update on the release that DJI has just come out with. Hope you liked it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.